Here we go, boys. Mideast round 4 at Antioch Raceway. It's on a dirt automobile track, and it's very slick and usually very dusty. And this time we had gotten a little bit of rain 2 days before, and it seemed to keep the dust down for the most part to the end of our race. I ended about 5th into the start. Not too bad. I need to get a little more aggressive on my start so I can get ahead a little more. I tend to ride the first lap a little conservative because I don't want to get surprised by anything. I like to learn the course and then kind of get on it a little harder. The whole course was very fast, and this is just one of the upper sections where you come out of the start into the woods sections, and it was, you know, just tapped out when you take off. A little bit you'll see where you come out of the woods again, you're onto the actual race course, and you do about 3/4 of the course. It was pretty fast for the whole course. The wood section was really good. It was tacky. It just had a lot of good grip. There wasn't a lot of surprises about it. No real deep mud pits, nothing like that. It was just a good, fun course to ride. Probably one of my favorite courses of the year so far. With conditions and the actual course layout, it was just a lot of fun. Stay about 5th place all the way through this first section, and this whole section is really indicative of what the whole course is going to be like. We blow a corner here and get up next to some other people, and get Robert Creel comes up next to me. Me and him tend to battle a little bit in the early laps. I tend to make a mistake and then he gets away. I don't know if we're close in speed, but I feel like me and him can pace each other pretty well. He always ends up finishing better than I do. We take this little hotline secondary course, and he makes a position up. I get put behind Jonathan Childers, and we just keep moving forward. I'm about 6th place now. Robert tags a little sapling, goes down. Me and Jonathan move around him. It was just, these woods were really good. The whole section, it was just tighter for a Mideast course, but not so tight that it was just impossible to pass. You could make a good position if you made a good line choice. There were some 2 good uphill sections and 2 good downhills in the whole course. This lower section where I am now, right behind Clint Edens, we were pretty close for this whole section until I get caught up with another rider. This whole section at the end of the race kind of got rutted out. It wasn't terrible, but it was just near a couple little deep ruts. Up here, it looks like Clint, I think, and somebody else go down together, and I make up a place. This is the first hill climb. It was a good, steady, you had to hit it in about 4th gear hill climb to make it up to the top. And then it was followed immediately on the other side by this pretty significant downhill. And usually on a downhill I can make a position where you couldn't really coast this downhill or accelerate down it because it was an immediate right hand at the bottom of it. So if you weren't sliding before you got to the bottom, you would make a mistake. This is the second hill climb, and this is the middle line of the hill climb where you come around. It was you skirt the side of the hill, do a 90 degree, and then shoot up to the top. There was another first line that I had done at the beginning in the first lap, and I'll show you here where you make an immediate right-hander and then go straight up the hill, just a little more steep and a little more aggressive. And I wasn't ready for how steep this hill was going to be, so I ended up getting stuck, and actually I had to push my bike up to the top of it because that stick right there, I just lost a lot of momentum. I wasn't planning to hit a big hill like that. This is a lower section. You come through as probably the tightest of the sections and get into some traffic here and start making some passes. It was a lot of fun for this course because of how fast you could get going, and then if you could maintain the speed, how fast you could keep going. And everything was clear, everything had a good flow to it, never really got chopped up. Even I think in the afternoon race it would have been really good because everything was beat in, and any spot that was going to be wet had been dried out by all our bikes riding through it. Take a different line, make up 2 spots here into a tight section into the woods. And this is the kind of stuff I like to ride, so I made up some positions and got some distance on those 2 guys here. There were some roots and there were some ruts, like I said, but it was nothing that you wouldn't expect out of a Harescramble. And honestly, the conditions couldn't have been any better. It was in the mid-60s and clear all day long, and there wasn't much dust until the end of the race. This section caused a lot of problems. You can see this is Cody McFall. He ended up having a bike issue and actually breaking his rear hub and shattering his sprocket, which is pretty crazy. And then later on, there was a guy, that same section, you come down the hill, and they were pointing you over to the side. And I'm not sure who this was, but he got carted off in an ambulance, and I hope he's okay. This is what this track is kind of known for, is these wide open, really fast sections. So you come out of the woods, and then you're onto, this is like an upper short course, and it's just like flat tracking is what it was like. So you come flying through, and if you were committed to going fast and knew how to slide, you could really just make up positions. And this is a shorter section, but when we come out onto the main course, you can see how if you really just are on it and committing to going into a turn, which I'm really glad I ride Supermoto, because that's what set me up for this, is that I could ride my 300 like I was riding my 450 and just get used to sliding. And at the end of the course, I made up 4 positions, not in my class, but past 4 people. I had trouble getting by in the woods because I was just more committed to being able to slide down this automobile course. The woods had a really good flow, and overall a faster course. I ended up in 5th out of 21 in my group, Vet C, which wasn't a bad finish really, but I just kind of kicked myself because I was in 3rd place at the 3rd lap and had a pretty good lead, but I had to stop and get gas, and because my bike just sucks down gas. So my 2.6 gallon stock tank, it's good for like 32 miles. And so 3 laps of a 10-mile course, and I'm about empty. I had to stop and get gas, and was solo, so pitting for myself, it's kind of a slow process. Took me about 45 seconds, and I ended up losing 2 positions I didn't make up. One to Robert Creel, and then one to another person. I didn't look at the scoreboard to see who it was. I was looking for a hotline here to get around this guy. He wouldn't. I was hooting and hollering, and he wouldn't let me pass, but it's how it works. It's my job to make the pass, not their job to get out of the way. And so I gotta wait for one of these other sections where I can slide down this downhill section, and a faster rider comes down. If you're comfortable with the downhills, you can make up some time, I've noticed, in the early morning classes. That same rider had crashed before and then got tangled up with, this is Chris Hannon in front of me, same guy in my class. And me and Chris kind of stay close and battle for the next little bit. This section was a little tricky because as the race got a little further progressed, it got more beat in, the more roots showed up. It was a little bit of off camber, so it was like you had to be just comfortable with your line and be confident in what the choice was, because you were going to slide if you didn't hit it right. Chris takes a hot line, gets around another class rider. I take another hot line, make up the same kind of position. I'm back behind him again. And this is the first part where you drop out of the woods and you come down into one of the faster sections. Somebody gets cross-rutted, and then me and Chris make a move around him. I'm really just trying to stay with Chris because I know he's in my class and I want to pass him. This is the section leading into the actual automobile course, and it was just pinned. You could just get on it, and I was immediately in 6th and just holding it wide. Run around the outside here and then drop down into the actual race course. And this is where you start the course, so you go from here to the middle of the next straightaway, and it's just hold on for dear life and just as comfortable as you are, as you can go as fast as you're comfortable going. And you enter a turn here, and you can see Chris is sliding a little bit. He rides Supermoto also, and then I'm just holding it wide open and just accelerating because you can. And later on, get pelted with stuff because it's still got pebbles and rocks and stuff on the course. It's a lot of fun riding with Chris because I've ridden Supermoto with him. We would go play ride in the woods. So it was funny having somebody next to you who you know how they ride. You can goof around a little bit. Me and him battle a little bit coming into this section. Just these switchbacks in the infield, and they were all flat. There was never really a rut got developed. In some of the softer sections that weren't the car course, there was a little rut that got developed, but it was never really enough that you could trust it. If you came into it too hard and weren't careful about how much input you put on your brakes or something, you'd drop the front end and go down. This turn gave me issues the whole time. It was a long 180 degree with soft, like, pebbles. It was like, it was silty kind of, so you couldn't really put a lot of grip to the ground. I don't know if those kids were playing chicken or what they were doing, but I saw 2 or 3 of them run across the course between riders a couple times. I don't know if somebody eventually told them to get out of the way because they could have gotten hurt. You watch here, my front end tucks sideways, and you just keep accelerating, you can push through it, and I thought I was going down. I did that a couple times on this open stuff because you just get going too fast. Chris showing me a wheel and taking off. And then he comes up to this next point, makes a mistake, and just gets the front end a little loose and drops down. And I make a move, and then I don't think he caught up again. I don't know where I think he finished 8th out of 21. So I kept this position afterwards. It was 2 miles of the course was out of this infield section, and I was a little apprehensive at the start of the race because I thought, you know, I don't really want to do this. I'm not going to go flat track, but I'm really glad I went to this race because I had an option to go ride somewhere else. I'm really glad I came to do this because it was a lot of fun. This whole course is a ton of fun. I'm excited about doing it next year when it comes up again. Like, I might skip another. If I do another series or something, I would skip it to come to this race. It was just that much fun. I'm glad that they ran the course the way they did with us going into the woods first instead of going into the infield. I think going into the infield first would have been kind of tedious feeling because even after coming out of the woods and then getting into this stuff, knowing that this was close to the finish, it was by the time you got to the end of the switchback sections in the infield, you were ready to be done with it. At least that's the way I felt. Some people, I think, were excited about doing more infield stuff than the woods, but the woods are what I come to ride. But it was just a nice change of pace to have that race course like it was. And this is come out of that the switchbacks in the infield into scoring, and that's the end of the race. It was a lot of fun. I really am glad that I went to this course. I definitely will go again. Conditions couldn't have been better. Like I said, it ended up 5th out of 21, and it had a lot of fun doing it. It was a really good day. I'm glad I went to go do it, and just fun sometimes to just push as hard as you can. That's it. See you later next time, guys. Peace.